Welcome back, everybody, to the Movie Date with Rob and Matt. This is a podcast where we talk about movies but don't want to be too smug about it. I'm Matt.
I'm Rob. This meme is the year is 2000. You're 13 years old, alienated from everyone around you, and deeply mentally ill. However, many of the varieties of Sobe brand lizard milks are available at gas stations near you.
Nostalgia. They'll sell it to us every time. You can go get a Balls energy drink. You never had Balls?
Yeah, I have, but
Okay.
I'm like, who wants that?
Yeah.
I want Sobe. I want Sobe. And
You want that little lizard, the 90s lizard. No, very 2000s lizard. Rob's checking out some memes, but we live in a meme economy, so it's all we have. We're here.
We are here.
We're here.
We are a thing in the universe. We exist. What's the opposite of entropy? Entropy is like isn't entropy like non-existence?
No, you can't do this to me because now I don't know.
God damn it! All right, it doesn't matter. We are not.
We are vibrating on a higher level.
Yes.
Consistent with the universe. We are a speck in the larger grand scheme of things. But while we get a chance, the universe has granted us cognition and awareness and a taste for arts and humanities. So we talk about film. And we saw a film.
We saw a film.
We saw Black Adam.
Black Adam.
Yes, or Atom.
Teth Adam.
Tet Adam. And we're going to talk about it. Primarily, we're going to talk about it. This is going to be a shorter episode. You know,
Yeah.
we'll get to.
Oh, I do have a lot to say about this movie.
Yeah, I kind of figured you did. I'll have some things
More
to
than
say
most.
about it. We don't really. I mean, we'll talk about something real quick. We're saving a lot of the movie news and other stuff, and talk about some other movies later.
Nothing's been happening. What do you want me to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, there's been things happening,
Your
but
mom's sundress? There's nothing interesting happening.
not right.
I mean, that sundress is cute, but
The you know. We'll do more of like a year-end wrap-up of things we didn't get to talk about in length another time, but because we've been busy, we've been doing things here and there, but we certainly love to get a chance to pop down on a seat and talk some things real quick. Rob, hey Rob,
yes, I'm here. I'm present.
there is something DC related we can talk about real
Yes.
quick. You're more privy to it than I.
I mean, I'm really not. I know about as much as you do.
Okay.
But like, DC has because we were talking about like the plan,
And this is
after the-
DCU.
Yes. After we saw Black Adam, we were talking a little bit about like the plan going forward for
Right.
them and what the rumors were.
So this is very much intricately connected because it also is intricately connected to another thing, which is Superman.
Yeah, because we hope so at least.
Right.
I mean, Henry Cavill did also release a quote saying like, "What you've seen of me in Black Adam is literally just a taste of what's to come."
Spoiler: he's in Black Adam.
Oh yeah, as if the entirety of the movie-going population didn't know.
I didn't
But then again,
know.
you're-
I
yeah,
didn't
you're right.
know. So I
didn't technically say he was in Black Adam. You said he was in Black Adam. Like I said, Henry Cavill said that he said what you saw. Oh, I did say it.
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
You
fair
did.
enough.
What
I'm
you saw
sorry.
in Black Adam.
Oh,
Of what?
No, I'm
Of
sorry.
what?
Fair enough. But he said it's just a taste of what's to come, which bodes well, which
Right.
means that the power play paid off.
Because you've been talking about this power play, this hidden gambit, this.
Well, it's not really this part's not really much of a rumor. Like I definitely think that's true. Is that like the old regime was dragging their feet on Superman for a long time. That's why we had the J.J. Abrams, Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Superman that was going to happen, which may still be happening, but I
be
definitely
cool.
know
Ta-Nehisi
it's not
Coates
happening.
Yeah, good.
Remember they had a Green Lantern series that has been in development for like 4 years, and
Yeah.
they cast people and had scripts, and that's not now it's being reworked to do Jon Stewart
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. And I'm like, that's never happening. It's never going to happen.
and of course,
But the big news is James Gunn and Peter Safran. Peter Safran produced Shazam, Aquaman, The Suicide Squad, and I think Peacemaker as well.
okay.
He and James Gunn have been named co-chairs and CEOs of DC Films.
Big deal. Because
Yeah.
it took me a minute. I was like, oh, he's going to be in charge of animation, all that. No.
He's in charge of film,
He's got
TV,
the
and
whole
animation.
lasagna. It ain't just part of the pasta. Like, he's got the whole deal.
Yeah.
They've given it to James Gunn.
Which does make me wonder, is he going to like not be directing as much stuff anymore?
I think it's just a palette to get him to direct as much as he wants.
Yeah.
What this means is like, because he's also, I found out that they're doing like a Guardians of the Galaxy like Christmas thing coming up.
Yeah, I saw
and that's
that.
going to be involved with him. And so
that's already done.
That's already done.
Yeah.
But still, it means that he's on favorable terms of Marvel. This ain't a deal breaker between them.
Yeah, but I think that like my first impressions of that is because after we saw Black Adam, we were talking about the rumors. Like a lot of people are saying this is Dwayne Johnson making his play to be the head honcho producer of DC, and I was like, I've heard of worse ideas than that. To be honest with you. And then
it's not been giving anybody any favors, and recently with the Warner Brothers handshakes going around that have Joker buzzers on them and turn people into skeletons.
All the things that he accomplished with Black Adam and how it could have easily been an ego trip and just like a me kind of movie. It doesn't really feel like that at all.
Not really.
So
we'll get to that, of course.
I was like, Dwayne Johnson being the big creative in charge. I've heard of worse ideas. And then this broke, and I was like, you know what? I think this could be a good thing too. All the Snyder diehards out there are like really meh on it, forgetting that like Zack Snyder and James Gunn are like go back a long way.
Yeah.
Back to Dawn of the Dead.
Back to Dawn of the Dead, yeah.
Zack Snyder helped James Gunn like with his stunt coordinator for Peacemaker. He literally asked Zack Snyder like, who's a good guy that I can get? And he goes, oh, you should use this guy. So like
there's copacetic going on here.
The idea that he would not be amenable to Zack Snyder's like and James Gunn released a statement, him and Peter Safran, about how like they want I don't know exactly what it is, but the idea of being paraphrasing is like they want it to be a creative oasis for their directors and stuff, which was exactly what people like Zack Snyder and Patty Jenkins wanted in the first place.
Right.
Was it to be like kind of a free to like everyone's free to work together to like make their movies on the same page, but also nobody tells you what you can or can't do necessarily.
Well, I can see it be a good thing because it's a filmmaker, putting that out there. Gunn is a successful filmmaker, and he would want that same freedom. So now that he's kind of got this situation, which people have been comparing to like a Kevin Feige or a Favreau kind of situation he's ended up in, being that he doesn't directly come from the executive suits.
No,
he's a
Peter
filmmaker.
Safran does. Peter Safran is a producer who's been around for a while. So
you got to have the money guy. You got to have the guy who's able to shake hands and all that.
And I think Peter Safran's also like a really steady producer just in general. Like I think that like I think he's a big reason why like when I think of Peter Safran, like I think of the fact that like all the movies he produced were different. I don't see like a lot of people are like worried James Gunn's gonna make everything really like kid appropriate and like a bunch of jokes and stuff.
Which is interesting because that's not what I see at James Gunn as kid appropriate.
Yeah, because the Suicide Squad was a lot of things.
A hard R film.
Yeah, we had critiques of it, but like
Peacemaker was a hard R series.
Yeah. And I don't think James Gunn's tone would be right for every movie, and I think James Gunn would agree with that. I think James Gunn would look at Black Adam and be like, "I
couldn't do that."
Yeah,
I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
he knows what he likes to do.
Yeah, so I don't think this is like. I think people are kind of clutching their pearls a lot about it, but I think it's a pretty cool.
Clutching
choice.
those Martha Wayne pearls.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens. I
have high hopes.
I have seen,
and they signed a contract for 4 years.
So from my perspective of seeing it, I've seen nothing but positive responses because people like James Gunn, people like where his DC would go, and they know that he's a player. He'll work with people. He wants to get something going. So
the irony is that like James Gunn, his Suicide Squad movie did not do very well at the box office.
No, it didn't. It was in the midst of,
if anything, it is one of their lowest grossing movies ever,
which is wild. Considering like Birds of Prey and a couple of other ones that kind of happened in the pandemic or right when the pandemic was getting started.
Yeah. So, like, ironically, and I don't think this is a coincidence, the most profitable entity of the DCU, as it is now called, been rebranded, was the quote unquote Snyderverse, the block of movies from Man of Steel to 2017's Justice League. I don't know, like,
I mean, would Aquaman be in that?
Aquaman was greenlit under that regime, so I do count that as well.
Right, because I'm going to say that was probably one of the most lucrative.
But technically, Walter Hamada came in right as Aquaman was about to release. His name is on it as a producer, but he had very little to do with it. Walter Hamada is Shazam, Birds of Prey, The Suicide Squad. That's kind of it.
Well, his name was on Black Adam as well.
But you and I both know who's calling the shots on Black Adam.
Yes, we know.
It's Dwayne Johnson and his company or whatever. Speaking of Black Adam, I think that's a perfect segue.
That works. We can talk about the 2022 film Black Adam.
Yeah. So,
directed by
Jaume Collet-Serra.
Jaume Collet-Serra, who mostly a horror filmmaker.
Yeah, he did Orphan. He did.
He did Jungle Cruise.
He did The Shallows.
Yeah,
which is a movie I like very much.
House of Wax.
Yeah.
In the House of Wax from the Dark Castle world, which I was a fan of, despite it not being good. He did some Liam Neeson stuff, The Commuter, Nonstop, Unknown. Okay, so I'm just seeing some of this for the first time.
Nonstop, God.
So we get to a Black Adam. How long has this thing been in the making? I mean, this is Dwayne Johnson's big project.
2008, I believe, or 2007, where New Line was announcing a Shazam movie, and he was going to play Black Adam.
Right.
The original idea was he was going to play both characters.
He was going to play Shazam
And Black Adam.
Huh. Okay.
They were both kind of look similar or whatever.
Right. I guess I can see that.
Yeah, and then it was stuck in development hell because then the Green Lantern movie bombed.
Right.
And they were like,
killed Martin Campbell's career, more or less.
and then they were like, we're gonna bring back, or we're gonna bring on Zack Snyder, and we're gonna kind of reboot the entire universe with a new Superman movie.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2014, it was announced he was gonna play Black Adam. Not necessarily in his own movie, but he was going to play it. And then, like, around 2016 or 17, they said they were going to split those movies into 2 movies. And that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it just kind of kept slowly rolling along, and Dwayne Johnson refused to let it die. He said he was given options to play just about any other DC character he wanted, except for, like, maybe, I don't know, Superman or something.
Right. They're like, you can have it all, but you can't have Batman or Superman.
And he kept saying, I want to do this, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So...
He has.
You gotta give him credit for the dedication.
And I think even people who don't like this movie or don't think it's that good as a movie are still like, it's one where you root for him. You root for him because he fought hard for it and he got it. And he is not the entirety of the film itself.
Yeah.
This is also a really great introduction, for the most part, to the JSA.
Yeah.
It's the first Hawkman movie. And you get some lore that's going to be kind of important to kind of dress up and stuff with this, with Kahndaq and everything. But so it was a long time coming. Shazam, of course, already came out. The next Shazam, Wrath of the Gods, will be coming out soon. Fury of the Gods will be coming out soon.
Comes out in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the big man drops, and we
still have time to shoot post-credit scenes for that. So who knows what'll happen? Like,
you never know.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get a Black Adam stinger somewhere in it. I mean, it's what I would imagine.
Because he is. You were wondering like how much of the DNA of the Shazam movies would be in it, and it's enough that it's like literally he's saying Shazam. Literally, Desmond Honsu is.
Yeah, he does say. I didn't think that would even happen.
Right.
Because in the comics, he never says it. Why would he ever change back? Like, and here he does it. We're getting into the movie, but like, here he says it like, I don't know, 2-3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his son says it or whatever. Spoil it. God. All right, I'm sorry. We'll keep going. But so like, but yeah, like it has. That was the only last hill for me. I was like, are they going to just completely ignore Shazam? And they don't.
They don't. Like I said, Desmond Honsu plays the last remaining of the Wizards, and the later is the one.
Exactly. You still haven't seen Shazam, right?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so that's a line he says.
I've seen
Shazam.
parts of Shazam, but I've not seen the whole film.
In Shazam, that's one of the things he said is, I'm the last of the Council of Wizards.
And we see what happened with that. It's very brief, but
we don't see what they look like necessarily, which I think is good.
They're just people in ropes.
Because they're gonna in the comics they are like Pandora is one of them, and like all sorts of other stuff.
Well, because
like,
they mentioned like Toth gives you this, and
gives you that and stuff. And
right.
Amon gives you this different set of gods for his powers. Speaking of which, let's just get into the big question. Spoiler free. Do you like it? Is it good? Should people see it?
It's a pretty fun time.
Yeah.
It's a fun action movie. You shocked me by when I was like, it feels very long, and you're like, it's no longer than anything else,
Yeah,
and I'm
2
like,
hours.
wow. Yeah, it's movie length, modern movie length.
Which is weird. The reason I also said that was weird that you felt it was long is because, like, for me, I thought the pace of the movie was almost breakneck. Like, I never got. Here's the one pause I'll say about it is, like, I'm not bored watching this movie. It keeps my attention the whole time. I never look at my watch or any of that stuff. I'm kind of like, the movie's lulling into like a weird middle act, like lull that some movies tend to hit sometimes.
The stakes are high enough.
I think DJ understands. He's like, give him the action, baby.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, and for better or worse, he does do that. So that's why I was surprised when you said like it feels long, and I was like, well, yeah. I guess.
Well, I think it's also just because there's at least two endings.
Yeah.
You get a bit of a Return of the King sort of thing going on. Obviously not as much because that Return of the King, it's like the action has happened now, it's the falling action. In this, it's just like, oh, we're setting this up because the next thing's happening, but it feels so final, like the music and everything. I'm like, you gotta lighten this up a bit because we know we're gonna come back to here. Mm-hmm. I know it. DJ, as you called him,
DJ
is he's really good in this. He's really good in this.
Yeah.
He still doesn't stray too far from himself though.
Sure. One of the big things we talked about leading up to this movie was like, does he have the chops to do a character that is like, there's no, I wouldn't say there's no charm in this movie or no like attempts at humor,
right,
or whatever. But like this is very much a departure as far as like other characters he's played. Mm-hmm. You could compare it if you want to like the Scorpion King, but I think we both know like that's garbage.
Almost 20 years. That's before his his peak as a film actor. That's during when he's still like
a wrestler,
King Supreme in WWF like or WWE at that time when he was still like the Rock says because with the Scorpion King, I mean that was like his first major the Mummy 2. Playing the Scorpion King was like his first major film role.
So we were talking about does he have the chops for this, and I can say like the one of the strongest points of this movie does feel like he gets his character right.
Yeah,
and the character is the focal point, and I don't think there's any really a part of him that I was like I don't believe that or whatever. Now we did come. Me and you both did say there is maybe an opportunity where they play it a little safe with him at times.
Yeah, I think that. I think it was what I was expecting was different than what I got with that performance. One, it was really he kind of gets really comfortable in the fact that off the bat he's speaking English. I know it seems like a small thing, but I remember turning to you and be like, "How did he learn that?" I learned that he was speaking, Kondakan, I imagine, from 5,000 years ago, and now all of a sudden he can speak rock English.
Yeah,
and with no dialect, with no accent.
He says a few lines in Kondakan.
He does, but for the most part, he's speaking like The Rock and everything else he does.
Yeah,
Dwayne Johnson.
leaned over to me like, why is he not speaking? Like he's speaking perfect English.
Yeah,
like, he has the wisdom of
he does. He does,
like,
but that needs to be that's something that needs to be said because then all of a sudden that just sounds like Dwayne Johnson. But the way he portrays this character, which I think is good for him because the character is incredibly stoic, and that's something that Dwayne Johnson's good at is stoicism. But he can also be eccentric. I remember, was that him in what was that? Oh, that spinoff of Get Shorty.
Get Smart?
No, that's basically. I thought that too.
He isn't that, but no.
But he could play quirky and weird and all that. He has that ability, but that's not what this character is.
No. But there is some really good. The humor is not I'm making jokes. The humor is like I'm from 5,000 years ago.
Right.
Like, and I would argue that all the humor, like a lot of people said the jokes are really bad.
Some of them are great.
I thought all of his jokes are pretty good. Some of the jokes from like maybe other characters of the Justice Society, I'm like, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That some of the attempts for humor just didn't really work for me. It didn't fit the tone. Because I'm like, you and I have been talking about this movie as like, and he had been advertising this movie as like, this is a dark turn. Mm-hmm. This is a character who's going to be very complicated, very, very morally complex, very anti-hero, focus on the anti.
Yeah.
And so I was ready for a little more like, and the trailers certainly showed that side of it.
Yeah, the first thing we ever see is him is still one of the coolest parts of the movie where he just nerfs a guy.
Yeah, and just melts
picks him up and turns him into dust. And
right.
I was like, dope.
Yeah, and
that action sequence, by the way, is one of the highlights of the movie. Mm-hmm. It is like I think
he's OP as hell, and you get to see it in glorious PG-13 level carnage. But I'm still like, whoa!
It makes you look at like Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and realize how soft that movie seems in comparison. The idea that you can't do violence like good, even like extreme levels of violence, really.
Well,
but like
we could
with a PG-13 rating,
Yeah.
you obviously could. He rips a guy's arm off in this movie.
Yes.
And you were very much like, oh, like
Yeah,
what
I was
happened?
like, all right, I don't get to see this very often.
Now it's not like full of entrails.
No, it's not. We're not doing the Suicide Squad. This
Yeah.
isn't a James Gunn. We're not getting like gratuitous trauma levels of violence.
Yeah, he's not
for the-
Homelander. Homelander would make it last forever.
And I wonder.
But this guy was like, he kills you quick.
Also,
usually.
thinking about The Boys and The Boys' success makes me think DC was looking at that. It was like, we got to get a guy like Gunn in. He could be more like our Seth Rogen.
I mean, I think that's kind of what the Suicide Squad was.
Yeah,
is
it
kind
was
of
just
that.
be like, we got to tap into that
It's just
because
a
The Boys
shame.
is a runaway
It just
hit.
kind of hit. It just had a really unlucky marketing strategy and hit at a bad time.
Bad time.
I don't know if it would have made more money than David Ayers necessarily, because that's like his movie performed hit above its weight when it hit the box office.
Well, and I think there's a lot to be said about that because it had Will Smith, Will Smith in a superhero role that wasn't obviously Hancock.
Yeah.
It had the introduction of Harley Quinn, who is an incredibly popular character, and people have been desperate to see that.
Yeah, and the hype.
The Jared
was,
Leto Joker thing had people catching interest,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, it's going to be a little harder."
the hype going into it was
The hype going into it is what sold it.
Yeah.
Not walking.
But we
out
were
of it
talking about
afterwards.
The Rock's expectations were like anti-hero, a lot of edge. It's going to change the hierarchy of the DC universe.
He did say it's going to change the hierarchy of the DC universe.
I would say, as far as meeting his expectations, I wouldn't call it like a knock out of the park home run.
No.
But I will say I think it's like a solid double. Like, do I think the DC universe is going to be different now because he's in it? Yes. Do I think that character is going to show up in movies just because he's a wild card and you don't tell him what to do? Yes. Do I think he delivered on the action? Yes. Do I think he delivered on the performance? Yes.
Sure.
But I think that I wanted a little bit more of those last two. I think we'll get into it in spoilers especially, but like I think there was an opportunity to push those things forward. The movie does end with him being a slight touch too noble for my taste. I think you'd agree.
Yeah. I think he was too nervous to go too dark.
Yeah.
Because in the end, he's like, I'm still Dwayne Johnson. I still have to sell, Zoa energy drinks. I still have to sell the Young Rock. I still have to be the closest thing we get to a Hulk Hogan these days. Like, without
I don't know
all the
that.
burden
Like,
of being Hulk Hogan, because Hulk Hogan's a piece of shit. But he's like, I'm Mr. like, kids look up to me. I can't play a character that's too evil.
I have a slightly different interpretation of that. I think I'm going to give him a lot of credit here. I think he read a lot of those Black Adam comics. I think he knew what the character was like, and he also knew that the promise of this character was. And I think he tried his hardest to be like, he's not a monster. He does do the right thing as he sees it. But also, if you're in his way, you're getting out of his way one way or the other.
And he makes a point that is a line in it, is just like, no, I don't seek out, but if you're in my way, I will go through you.
Yeah. And like I think he tried his hardest to it's hard to do in his defense as well. It's a tightrope to walk between being a monster and because if he kills too many people, including people that maybe don't deserve it, you just go, well, he's a villain. Right. And if he doesn't do any of it, you're just like, oh, he's like a slightly dark hero like Batman.
Right.
But we're going anti-hero.
Right. Because they make a point. There is a line that both of us kind of cringed at, which is the line about like he has the darkness to do what others can't.
Well, the line I cringed at was the Hawkman one, but I kind of rolled my eyes at that one.
And I was kind of like you say, does he?
Yeah.
Does he? Like, it doesn't. Again, he becomes the journey that he goes through. To me, was not transformative enough.
I agree with that, but
he's pretty static.
But I also think that is to be expected. I think anti-heroes don't learn a lot of the time. The Punisher never changes.
Right.
Now, this isn't the Punisher, and there are now, and when it comes to like, and I said this when we got out of the movie, the Justice Society comics that he's in, where he goes from being a straight up villain to being like, I want to join the Justice Society, is very much. A lot of this movie, I see like hints of that in it. And I think that's why I think DJ did his research and was like, well, if we're doing the anti-hero, we have to do the one where he's like, his goals are ostensibly noble, but he has no qualms with killing his enemies to do that.
Right.
Or anything like that. And to be fair, he's got a body count in this movie that's at least in the hundreds.
He wipes out a lot of people who are all primarily just mercenary goons of the Ender Squad. Is that right? What's Intergang?
Yeah,
I've been just
a lot of people are like saying the Intergang is just a generic thing they made up for this movie. No, it's been in the comic for decades.
But also
But
its
in this movie,
power is under discussed as well.
yeah,
because
they're supposed to be like Darkseid's Earth lackeys.
right,
Literally.
and they have you have to sit there in a moment and just be like, where did this technology come from? And then you got to be like, well, it is the DC universe. This technology is not entirely unknown, but someone's got to be hooking them up with some space black market shit.
Yeah, where did those hover bikes come from?
Yeah, those hover bikes could go
Like-
through the speed of sound or speed of
they
light.
phase into different like little bursts of energy or whatever. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and yet at the same time, they're just dudes.
Yeah.
Because this movie also wants to have this anti-colonial story going on,
Which I think is actually one of the stronger parts of the movie that I did not expect.
Yeah.
Is that it's surprisingly more political than I thought it would be.
it is
There's a great,
distinctly so, and about by also coding the Justice Society
as American.
as imperial
Yeah.
because they're under the thumb of Amanda Waller, who we know is morally corrupt.
Sucks. Yeah. Why does anyone listen to that woman anymore?
Because she wields a lot of power.
I guess, but she's just failed every single one. She's failed upwards.
Is that not government?
That is, yeah, that's a good
Oh,
point.
hot takes.
That's a very good point. But yeah,
but-
there's a line in the movie that's like, not your country, not your child, not your choice. And I was like, yeah, that checks out. I appreciate those little things because there's another version of this movie that didn't have any of that in it.
Right.
And
I think that is a strength of it. It's just sometimes it's like not to what end, but then once you bring that in, you got to get a little dirtier because it's like the whole thing is them pointing a finger in the chest of Hawkman and saying, "Hey, superhero,
We've been under
under the
oppression for
yoke of
20-something
this
years. Yeah.
weird
Where you been?"
do they have connections to the United States? If you're bringing that up, then it's like somebody should have taken care of this. No one should live in the yoke of this kind of tyranny.
Yeah.
But they do, and it's never answered. Like if it was something like they have an authority outside of Earth,
Yeah.
then that would justify it. But it has to be this middle ground because you need to play by our rules.
And Hawkman's like, well, he can't be a liberator because he's not a hero. And she goes, tell that to all the people he just liberated.
Right. It's kind of hard. It's very hard for us as the audience to easily see the argument that Hawkman is making during times like the war in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Or the Iranian uprisings. We see
Or
that direct
I think
action
the
and
most-
violence is a use of resistance.
I think the most obvious comparison too is the one they were probably a little bit careful about was like Israel and Palestine,
Right.
and stuff. And to be fair, I think the movie handles its politics. This movie, in a weird way, I'm giving the movie more and more credit. It's kind of going up in my mind the more I talk about it. Is it walks a really tight rope between a lot of these things.
Right.
Where too much of it could have been it could have been come across as preachy, come across as overly intellectual. But this movie never forgets this is a movie about a badass dude named Black Adam who kicks ass and takes
It
names
is
and
about
doesn't
a
take no shit.
god-powered
Yeah.
power man.
And whenever
who
we
is
get
the
too far from that, it rips us back into an action scene where he's doing exactly that.
And
I
I'll
think
say
that's a smart thing.
I feel like the whole meditation around him, in the statue, what it represents, the statue in the middle of the city,
yeah, I forgot about that.
is you are watching it and just kind of what's going on in that dome of his? What's going on in his mind? Why does he not feel that he is? Because as I mentioned to you, I wish there would have been a scene with him reveling in power, like his vengeance that he seeks for reasons that we'll talk about. Feels more mournful, and I was wanting him to feel guilty because he took joy in power, mad with power, and that's why they had to put him away.
I think they could have done a spoonful of that.
Yeah.
But that's
wanted-
also, if
I
you
wanted a
go
little-
you go too far with it, and I'm like, that's not Black Adam.
Yeah.
Black Adam doesn't revel in carnage. Like I said, my favorite thing one of my favorite pieces of Black Adam stuff is when he comes back to modern day. And they go, yeah, it's so different now, isn't it? And he goes, actually, it's just the same. And he goes, we're always being crushed under the boot of someone in charge or whatever. And he takes some I don't know, some piece of shit. I can't remember exactly who it is, but some piece of shit, super wealthy, rich person. He goes, pharaohs then, pharaohs now, and he just goes, no more pharaohs.
No more
And he
pharaohs.
just drops him. He doesn't rip him in half or
Right.
anything.
He
or
doesn't- he
revel in
doesn't-
it.
yeah.
He does what he thinks is what needs to be done.
Right.
Or whatever. At least if we're doing the anti-hero version. Earlier versions where he is a villain, maybe, but I think there is a way to do that where you add a teaspoon of you need a thing that clearly separates him from his counterparts in the JSA that isn't just, well, I killed some thugs.
Right.
Because here's the thing, Hawkman's heroes don't kill people. In this universe, Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
And I'm over the conversation of is it okay for superheroes to kill people? I think it's a dumb, silly conversation.
This wasn't a problem before.
And like there and as much as they lean into that part, there's more to being an anti-hero than just like you kill your enemies. There are overt heroes that kill their enemies. Superman in this universe is a hero. He kills Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
He kills Zod.
Yep.
He's probably morally right to do both of those things.
Wonder Woman has killed.
Oh, yeah, Wonder Woman kills Zod. That's right. She cuts his head off.
Well, but she also kills those terrorists.
Yes.
She
So,
kills
like,
those nihilist murderers.
Yeah,
like,
and they're not members of the boys. Like
Right, no.
the idea that like what separates
it doesn't have that kind of like, oh, aren't you getting a sick thrill out of this gore? No, they just like push to their limits.
Yeah. They don't revel in carnage.
No, neither do the movies.
What you need to do is there's a great thing where like some supervillains infiltrate Kahndaq. I think it's like Cobra and some other people.
Cobra.
And what happens is he executes them on live television
Oh, damn.
to show people like you don't come into this country and wreak havoc. Like I'm the protector of Kahndaq. And he goes, you don't want to get on my bad side. And he just kills them like instantaneously.
Now that would be an interesting thing to see. That would be like, then the JSA's got to be like, you got to not do that.
But to be clear, but he does it like everyone gets upset at him, says you can't just do that. And he goes, we tried them in our courts. And he goes, they were found guilty of their crimes. And he goes, I don't know what you want from me. And like you have to. That's the kind of tone you can do, and I think that.
But that's almost a politic in itself.
Yeah.
That takes that movie in a completely different. Then you don't have an action movie anymore.
Yes. But I do think
you
that,
have
like,
a revolutionary.
I
film about
I think you're
revolutionary.
right to want a little bit more menace to him or whatever.
He's still too much of Dwayne Johnson, and Dwayne Johnson.
I think
needs to be tough, but he can't be menacing.
I think by the end he is that. I think over the course of the movie and the action, I think they do sell that. Like, here's the thing. I think you're right, and I would have liked it more if they had a big moment where someone's like, "Don't do it," and he just like does it,
right,
and just kind of like has no qualms about it. That would have put it over the edge for me. Probably would have gotten a worse critical slashing than it already has because of that, frankly. Because I think people just, I think people like it. Like it's at a 90% on the audience ratings now, but like. I think critics are squeamish on that, but that doesn't matter.
Which I find interesting because it's like.
But here's what I was gonna say is after this, the movies that we're setting up after this, from the post credits and the all the implications that he is now Kahndaq's protector and stuff.
Right.
Going forward, I think we will get that. I think we will get that in future movies where there is a clear delineation between what kind of hero he is versus what kind of hero the others are.
Right.
And I think we will get moments where Black Adam does things that Shazam won't, or that Shazam.
And I think that'd be an
are
important
wrong.
thing because since Shazam, is
So pure.
a child, that the idea of killing
a snotty teenager.
a snotty teenager, but and to be up against somebody who's willing to put down their enemies, that's shocking.
Yeah.
It also I like
Shazam
that.
would be like, I've never had to like kill a human being, and he goes, I kill them like the ants they are, or whatever.
If they prove to be
Yeah, there's a line from an animated movie where he's like, and I guess, do you feel bad when you step on an ant? It's like, no, because you recognize yourself as a higher form of life. And I was like, that's a villain version of that character.
Yes.
But you can take a little teaspoon of that and put it into your little recipe.
Because that also is a character development that warrants the thing that he does at the end of the movie, and also his justification for feeling like I'm no hero. I feel like that revelation should have come earlier, because for a while I'm just like,
or not at all, maybe.
Well, no, because you need it. You need it because it's like, other than that, he's just so mopey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you so mopey?
We do get a reason for that later.
But I needed that earlier.
Yeah.
Because it's like, why hide
agree with
that? Why? I mean, I get why you hide it because of the statue metaphor, and I'm like, okay, that's really cool.
I still think you could have done it earlier, though.
I think you could have done it earlier so that we already kind of see where his head's at.
Let's move on to like some more of the clear positives. We got to when we get to. I think it's clear. Or actually, you know what? Let's get on to like
Let's go ahead and talk about the movie.
The negatives real quick, and then let's move on to spoilers, because we got to talk action, because action, I think, is a clear There are two critics who I've seen who had a complete shit take on the action in this movie. Someone said that the CGI and the editing ruined these action sequences, and I was like,
I think it looks fine.
Like, what do you think is a good action sequence? Because when I saw this, the action is perfectly graceful. The level of care and the editing they take with it is to let you see all of it in its glorious carnage.
Yeah, I've seen worse. I've seen
way
far
fucking
worse.
Yeah. Like, and especially for this universe, I have high standards for what the action should look like. Between Aquaman, Man of Steel, like the Batman warehouse scene, like this one easily stands up with those. So I think the big negative of this movie is the villain, and the lack of character development / character arcs. We only really get one, and it's for Dr. Fate.
Yeah, which you not mentioned. I almost said Guy Pearce. Pierce Brosnan's so good in this.
Yeah.
He's you want to talk about charm. He brings it. Chemistry, and
Aldous Hodge.
Who I should mention, he's also great as our first film, Hawkman, but he's
good.
Too combative. He's too arrogant, and there's not much of a change in his character. Of that arrogance. Dr. Fate,
he does end the movie with the biggest turn ever. Yeah, which is like, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, and it's
so dumb.
And it's like, no, you've been
fighting him all movie.
You're not at find out. You're still at fuck around.
And Hawkman is supposed to be like they try to, again, for better or worse sometimes, this movie tries to walk a tightrope. Hawkman in the comics is like a berserker. Like, I feel like this I'm a noble hero shtick from him.
Well, he's a noble hero, but he's also kind of conceited.
Yeah.
He's also very, very bro-y. You know, he's very kind of jockey and arrogant. But that's what makes his argument about, like, we need you to simmer down with the whole killing thing. You're immediately like, I don't like this guy. I like the actor. I like that it's Hawkman, but his arguments are terrible.
He seems like a big nag the whole movie.
His arguments don't work. I will agree.
His relationship with Dr. Fate is good.
Yeah, you don't get enough of it, but also it's not their movie.
I still would argue you had a great idea about a way to introduce these characters, kind of like within a Suicide Squad-esque way, where we see a little snippet of them in action. Yeah, and then kind of because we also have the two other characters who might as well not be there. Yeah, you could write them out of the movie.
Other than
Atom Smasher and Cyclone are glorified wall dressing. Yep. They have a couple of nice little moments each other. They're obviously setting up like a kindred romance thing, but
which is fine.
Fine, yeah.
But all they're there to do is just be special effects.
Yeah. And they're cool special effects.
They're cool special effects.
I love watching Giant Man. Like you know, I feel like he gets like 4 scenes to do, like 4 moments where he grows big. Yeah. But
we also get a fun little flashback to who his, like, because he's the Ant-Man of this universe.
And his dad his Uncle Al is Henry Winkler.
It's Henry Winkler,
the first Atom Smasher,
right? As opposed to Martin Sheen or
I still think there was an opportunity to show a great flashback, because both of these characters live a long time, meaning Hawkman and Dr. Fate.
Yes.
Show a flashback of like the first time they meet and show them becoming friends.
Yeah, like it's the 70s or something.
That way, when we reach Dr. Fate's character arc, it feels more gratifying.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, and it's a testament to the actors, because I did feel the relationship, even though it's all implied, it's all told and not shown.
Yeah.
But I would have loved just to see like one scene so I believe it a little bit more, because I do think it's one of the shining spots of this movie.
Yeah, and
Dr. Fate's the coolest. Like, drips cool from every fiber of his being.
He's got that drip. He's got that swag. He's Pierce Brosnan with it's Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah.
He brings it. But yeah, I think we could just get into talking about some of the negatives. One is that my problem with the Intergang, one, like I said, they have no origin other than they're just kind of a group of mercenary thugs.
Intergang's big problem is connected to its villain.
Right.
Like, because we don't really set up who's in charge, but we don't know where they come from, where they got their tech, what they want, like what their end goals are. We know what the villain's end goal is, kind of.
Well, it kind of comes out of nowhere,
too. But I think it's weak fucking sauce. And I don't know. I feel like there's an opportunity to have set Intergang up in a better way, or don't make it be Intergang.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm fine with Intergang, but at the same time, if you got to... They can't just be some group of random like mercenaries. Like I mentioned that there needed to be a character
that they would be able to live in the DC universe, and Superman wouldn't come by and just waste them.
Exactly. It doesn't make sense that
that only happens because the script says so.
It doesn't make sense that Sarah Shai's character is just like, is able to again point a finger at Hawkman and say, why haven't you come and help? It's like, yeah, good point. Why are you allowing this country to live in a state of capital tyranny?
Yeah. And especially
aren't y'all like, get the Justice League in here. This is no problem for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, because
this is like right up Wonder Woman's alley. She can get in there and wipe ass on these people.
I mean, in Batman v Superman, Superman literally stops a drone from destroying a African village.
Yeah.
In the desert. Like, he would literally come here and be like, you have one day to get out of this country or I'm going to force you to get out of here.
You needed another, and I brought up the character
Which I'm still fine with that not happening. Like, it's a big world. Maybe they're off doing space stuff.
Yeah,
I don't know. But like, it doesn't check out. But I would have liked all this more if we used this weird conflict to give the villain more motivation. Right. Is what I said.
Because the villain of it is
Ishmael Gregor.
Marwan Kenzari.
Yeah, who plays Sabak. Mm-hmm. Full spoilers going forward from this point on. I still think it's a really solid movie, and you should see it.
I think you should see it. It's a fun movie. Yeah.
I said in my review, the action alone is worth every dollar you'll spend to see it. Like, that will keep you entertained if nothing else.
Great visual effects, great uses.
And I don't say that
as
a little throwaway consolation prize. Mm-hmm. I want to, and I don't understand people who are like, the action is so overkill. I want overkill. In a movie like this, I want so much action.
I don't need subtlety in a Black Adam movie.
I don't need subtlety. Go bigger,
you
go
can
home.
do subtlety in Batman. You can even do subtlety in Superman. If you're doing, because those characters are so big.
Yeah.
Black Adam, you are traipsing now into pulling out
with The Rock playing it.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of my face. Give me some action.
I wanted a certain kind of performance from him, but for the most part, I'm getting it, and he's getting you don't make him look like that and him not to take a tank shot and just be like, dust it off.
Yeah.
Like he's
like you said, it's not everything with The Rock is really good. Mm-hmm. It's not a home run, but he sticks his landing and he kind of proves the reasoning of why he kept this movie going for so long to bring it to you.
But
full spoilers.
Yeah. So you have this guy being
sucks.
So is he supposed to be the one that's secretly in charge of the Intergang?
Yes.
That did not come through at all.
No.
I thought he was just like working with them.
There's a part where like he picks up the walkie-talkie and he kills the guy who punched him in the face and like, oh, this is the bad guy. But the movie telegraphs that he's the villain very, very, very early on.
Well, I thought that he was just like
a dude.
Like he's like, you work with me and I'll get you something good. Yeah. And I mentioned this before, I wanted this movie to have like a mercenary boss, like a war chief, I think a comparison to Ulysses Claw from Black Panther.
Sure,
just
not?
Like a mercenary for hire, but he kind of runs the Intergang, or at least this district of it. Now all the money goes to him.
There is a guy in the comics that does that, and he oftentimes has to answer to Darkseid.
Yeah,
I
need that kind of like arrogant.
There's a great part where he comes to Darkseid. Darkseid is just displeased, so he just turns him into a slave. It just makes him go work under Apocalypse with all the scrubs. Yeah, that's why I think like the genericness of Intergang is kind of kind of part of this.
We just needed some people he can kill.
Yeah,
and it's like
not in 2 seconds.
Right.
That matters. I agree. Yeah.
But the crux of the story is that this young mother whose husband was
Adriana
killed.
Tomaz is her name, who in the comic books becomes Isis.
Oh, okay.
Superheroine ISIS.
Right. Not ISIL.
Not actual ISIS.
Not Daesh.
Yeah. She's like female Black Adam. She is in some versions his love interest. Her son becomes oh God, what's his name? They kind of become Black Adam's Shazam family in a way.
Okay, his Shazamly?
Yeah, his Shazamily. But anyway.
Amon Tomaz.
Yeah.
Is Osiris.
Yeah, that sounds right. One of those.
I'll make a thing. No big hate on Bodhi Semangwai.
Yeah.
That kid's kind of annoying in this movie.
Oh yeah, I didn't think he was that great.
I mean, I don't mean to be like that, but his line deliveries were not great, and he also somehow comes out of a like 1990s like skateboard movie. He's just
skateboarding everywhere.
He's just skateboarding everywhere and.
There was
near the end of the movie when he's rolling in with the group of people and he's just like floating.
On his
I laughed. It looked silly.
Yeah.
He's so radical, and it's like that is so out of touch.
The ending of this movie feels tacked. Like that part of the ending, especially, feels very tacked on. I don't need
Sabak's powers
bring back a bunch of zombies.
Not set up at all.
Super
There's no idea that like he's some master of the dead.
And we'll get
there's no connection to like who's the ruler of the dead in Egyptian lore.
Anubis.
Yeah, like there needed to be some kind of because it's obviously they make a point that Kahndaq is older than Mesopotamia. It's older than Egypt,
Rome, all that shit.
Yeah, it's probably more in kind to Olympus, not Olympus,
BC.
but to Atlantis. You know, it's like this lost civilization.
I think we'll rewrite the screenplay where I fix some of these things because I think either you should have just wrote that out of the movie and have them all bear witness to who's going to be the leader of Kahndaq at the end because it would have saved us some time, like on the runtime of this.
That's
movie.
why the first ending feels like an ending.
Yeah,
you know?
or set up the fact that Sabak can do this earlier on, and that's why you need to stop him from ever becoming Sabak or whatever.
Right.
And I think a cool way to do that is like old books. I'm a big fan of like we both like Sam Raimi and stuff. I was watching the new Evil Dead remake recently and stuff, and I love an evil book. And there's lots of like, don't touch this book on it. To turn back now. Like when they're going through the ruins at the beginning. We'll do more of this and rewrite the screenplay, but. When they're going through the beginning of this movie, show murals of Sabak, like with his hands up and just legions of the dead in front of him.
Right.
Like set that shit up early, so
like to be like when they talk about Tet Adam, they're like, yeah, he was bad, but like Sabak was like the dread from the underworld, the plague of our people, and thankfully it's been put away someplace that will never be found again. But lo and behold, because they're after this crown. Yeah, the crown
made from Eternium.
Eternium,
which might as well not even be in this movie.
It is Kryptonian.
It is vibranium.
It is vibranium. It is unobtainium.
Unobtainium.
So that's what the Intergang is having everyone do. But this goes all the way back to the Pharaoh.
Yes.
Like the king, rather.
King Acton.
Yeah.
Who's also played by Marwan Kenzari.
Yeah. Looks very different.
I know. It's because he has like no eyebrows. And
he looks really goofy. But he looks really scumbaggy as that. And I'm like, that works, actually.
Yeah.
So that we get this idea that it's like this boy who is to be executed is whisked away to the gods, so we think.
Well,
not to the gods,
to the wizards.
To the wizards.
And they make him essentially the first Shazam.
Right.
Essentially.
You have all the powers that we have. You wield it, but he was found unworthy. He liberated his people, but at what cost? What violence? What decadence?
Yeah.
And therefore, he was in prison.
He stops Sabak from ever becoming. Technically, should we get to the twist of like the sun and
we might as well.
Yeah,
because this is the thing that should have been in earlier. We see the sun running around, and we assume that that's just Young Rock.
The Rock, and then we see a guy who
now on NBC, Young Rock.
Yeah, there's a guy in shadow next to the Rock who is supposed to just be like. So do we never see his face? But as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the Rock, and I was like, and his son is going to be the first champion, which is exactly what happened. Looks cool though. I like Middle Eastern Shazam with his like he has a big golden like.
People talk about how strange it is that they CGI made
the Rock smaller.
Yeah,
that's actually a person was his body double for that. I can't
no
remember,
kidding,
I can't
really.
Remember who it was? It's some like famous stunt guy or whatever. But, I mean, I love how you CGI the Rock into a smaller man, and he's
still my ass.
He's still a very fit man.
Yeah, it's like you can't make him look like Chris. Like, you can't make him look like Chris Evans, where he's just like a Poindexter.
Then he wouldn't be a slave digging stuff.
No, like, he's like early WWF Rock body.
Yeah,
he's not a golem of a man yet.
So what ends up happening is the son. Saves his father. His father's attacked by the king's assassins
because they're all building up, trying to get this unobtainium.
Yeah, and the kid's starting a revolution, so they want to kill him.
Yeah.
And the wizards
they hold up the diamond,
power,
which kind of just reminds me of Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah,
so I'm like more WWF.
And the son finds his father dying, and they've set this up in Shazam that he can do this. So he grabs his father's hand and says, like, just say the name with me. And he says Shazam.
Say the magic words.
He transfers the power to him, and he's then killed by the king's assassins.
Yep.
And then Black Adam is the champion now.
But Black Adam uses that power for rage,
I guess.
And we don't see him massacre this court. That would have been kind of cool.
Yeah, he just gets real mad and blows it up. They set up that they could have done more with this or gotten rid of it completely. Is that when he gets really as fights drag on and he gets more and more angry, kind of like the Hulk or like even like Doomsday, I guess. He gets more supercharged.
Yeah.
And he explodes. and just unleashes just like a huge surge of energy. That's kind of what happened. That's what he does to the king's court.
Right.
I kind of would have just liked him just murdering them all.
Yeah,
And then
I would have
when
liked.
he gets to the king, then have him explode or whatever.
Right. Because that would have at least then that feeling of shame, like I let my worst tendencies get to me, be more justified.
Yeah. Then they summon him back down.
Yeah.
After that happens, and they say, "You're not worthy." Jaimun Hunsu says, "We're locking you away," and he goes, "No, you're fucking not." And then he goes,
He's like, "You
I
gave
am."
me
And
your
then,
power," so he kills all those
and
old
then he
wizards.
kills the other wizards, but Shazam is able to overpower him and puts him in this tomb.
Right.
And on the tomb is a bunch of writing that says, "His rage destroyed a nation almost," or whatever. Don't.
Either way, they're like, we could get in here, find this thing, and that will help. Talking about the young woman and her son and her friends, cousins, these other guys.
Oh yeah,
including
Mohammed Amr, who
is
plays
his brother,
who plays her brother.
Right, he's there for comedy relief.
He's very funny. He's a very funny comedian. If you haven't seen him, he's hilarious.
He's very natural. I
Yeah.
like that. He's very natural.
My favorite joke is with him and Dr. Fate, and he goes, "I've seen your fate. This is not how you die." And he goes, "How do I die?" He goes, "Try to stay away from electricity."
I'm
He goes,
electrician.
"How the hell do I do that? I'm an electrician."
He later just when he's fighting zombies is like, "This is not how I die. I get electrocuted." And I'm like, okay, that's funny.
It's pretty good.
So they get betrayed
By obvious villain man.
Yes, by obviously
Ishmael
Jafar.
Yeah.
And so the intergang mercs come down and they're about to wipe everybody out.
Yeah, and this is where I think we should switch to. Let's talk about the action. We need to talk about our favorite parts of this movie because the action is a feast. A bloated feast that has some stuff on the table maybe you don't like all the time, and you've eaten like one plate too much, but it's still a feast. My favorite thing about it is just like how well it displays his abilities, and it doesn't hide behind any like editing tricks. There's a part where like halfway through the tomb fight, he picks a guy up by his leg and just smashes him into a piece of rock or tomb, and it's just so
your mind fills in most of it.
Yeah, but like they don't cut away from anything.
Like it's just in the background a little bit, but you see the impact.
He picks the guy up and throws him into a missile.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I was like, all right.
He sticks his hand through a rock and electrocutes a guy on the other side like a horror villain. Like
it's a great part where they're just unloading on him with like multiple rounds, and he's like, "Your magic is weak."
Yeah, he even said he grabs the bullet, and it's that was really cool. I wanted more of that.
Yeah,
I wanted like a little more of like him like doing stuff with the language, little character moments.
Well, they make up
the action.
You get this little thing that they say where it's just like, he's waking up, so he's grumpy. And it's like but once he starts being aware of what's going on, then he'd become a real problem because he'll have his facilities about him, and that's why they want to get him quick. Because that leads Amanda Waller to be like, "Hey, I'm not gonna send the JLA because I don't have any control over them."
Yeah,
but
even though in Peacemaker she kind of does, like she clearly gets
she does tell
up.
Aquaman and the Flash like, go fix this problem.
What Superman and Wonder Woman?
Oh yeah, that's right. They're there too. They're just not there.
Yeah. So again,
so the JSA is
too hard
sent
about
out.
it.
The JSA leaves their
one thing I also like about this, I like
Professor X mansion in Louisiana.
We'll talk about action first, then we'll get to like how they clearly ripped off the X-Men. There's a literal plane under like a courtyard.
Yeah. That was probably some of the worst CGI. I was watching that thing open up. I was like, that doesn't look great.
Yeah, but all the action stuff of his powers is like 5 stars.
When he's going out and he's like looking around at, for one thing, there's a continuing joke that he's essentially like the Kool-Aid man. He just goes through walls.
Yeah, hilarious. Love it.
But it's a great visual for like, I don't stop for anything.
Yeah.
Nothing can stop me. And if you get in my way, I will go through you.
Yeah.
Not out of malice, but out of your ignorance.
I mean, a little bit out of malice
but
because someone does ask him like, I guess they didn't have doors where you come from. He's like, of course they did. How did we go into rooms otherwise? Which means he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But one thing I love is when you can sneak in character moments into an action sequence. It's really good. Like a good example of this would be what's a good example, like a character moment they sneak in. One is like when he catches the bullet. Another one is like as he's killing all these dudes, he looks down and he zaps some rocks that are quickly about to fall on Adriana.
Yeah,
it's a very quick passing thing as he goes away. That's a character thing.
Mm-hmm. Like he's like, I'm not gonna let you die.
Yeah. Another good example in like Aquaman, he uses a thing that was taught to him by Willem Dafoe to defeat ocean master. He teaches him this little like move where he makes like a shield out of water and he uses it to beat his brother. That's a character moment. Like I like when people sneak that stuff in. We don't get a lot of that, but immediately after he comes out of the mountain, we get like probably the coolest slow-mo scene of the movie. There's a lot of slow-mo in this movie, a lot of Snyder-esque kind of shots or whatever.
At first, it features kind of a cool like orchestral thing of the Rolling Stones Painted Black. I did not need them using the actual song.
Yeah, me neither.
It was very kind of like, I get it. Yeah. But I don't. This just feels like a music video.
But I loved the
sequencing going on during it.
It starts off with him like they're all there's like 100 soldiers. They're unloading.
They've all got the big trucks and everything.
He shoots his lightning out and then all just zigzags into all of them or into most of them in front of him. He finds a guy who's about to like throw a grenade at him. He takes the grenade and puts it in the guy's mouth or whatever. The
helicopters.
The helicopter rotor or whatever is coming towards him. He just like lightly touches it and pushes it towards the other guys. There's a missile that he just kind of slightly redirects towards a thing, and
it's like he sets everything up and then it all happens, which is some really good stuff.
The clap, which he didn't do that. Use that more.
Yeah, because that's like really a signature move.
Yeah. And as all that's happening, and then when we get to the end of it, everything goes back to real time, and it all just happens all at once. It's over in like a second.
Right. It reminds me of the. It reminds me of a much more explosive version of the in the X-Men movie where
the
Quicksilver scene with the time in a bottle.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Where it's just like set up, payoff.
Yeah. There's also a really cool action sequence. It's
also how we introduce something that I thought was interesting but goes nowhere, which is that Eternium is his kryptonite.
Yeah.
Because one guy puts it into a rocket and it blows up in his hand, which is a scene that was in the trailers, which is him grabbing that rocket and taking a look at it, and then he sees it, it pops, and it leaves him wounded.
Yeah, and he just incinerates that dude. Yeah. We both laughed out loud when that happened. The guy's like, "Oh," and just ashes.
It was like, "Good job, you got that one hit off."
Good job. Employee of the month, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sure everyone will remember you.
It reminds me of Rick and Morty. Employees of the month, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever. Before he kills some soldier just doing his job.
Employee of the month, everybody.
And then Mo Amer goes like, "Well, hope we don't have to see him again," and he takes off, and then he crashes down like 2 seconds later.
Right, because he's now weakened.
Yeah. They set that up and don't do anything with it.
Yeah, you think Amanda Waller would be like, get that Eternium. Yeah, that will put him down.
Put it into your mace or something.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of like, well, if you're not going to
put it in the gas,
just write it out of the movie then.
Yeah.
Or like do something more impressive with it. One or the other.
It never gets really used again as this like
because they imply that it's also used for the crown. You have to use it to make the crown and stuff. And I'm like,
because it also kind of gave, at least not gave his power, but like brought the gods, or not the gods, but the wizard's intention.
Yeah,
something like that. I don't know.
Unnecessary or do
under discussed about what the Eternium does. By the way, he's hanging out in the radical kids' bedroom. He's got posters of all the different characters. He's got comic books of Wonder Woman, and so that's going on. You know, our heroes are getting corporatized in stories about them. Kind of interesting.
I feel like Superman wouldn't enjoy that very much.
Yeah.
Not this Superman, at least.
It's different from the Watchmen, where because we have superheroes, comic books are mostly westerns and like pirate stories.
Yeah, which I like.
Yeah, that's a fun way of being like, it's all just gone back to pulp.
But here, I think our comic books are everything.
Yeah,
like here, comic books. This universe, comic books are already mythology. These superheroes are myths.
There is a scene later where he wrecks that room, and so we see him like punching through Superman's face and all that. It's like, I know what you're doing. I actually thought that was kind of clever. I was like,
he zaps Aquaman and stuff.
It's saying that
the drawings of Aquaman, by the way, are the Jason Momoa. It's not like the characters are apropos of the characters they play in these movies.
Right.
So yeah.
I just thought that was really fun that he's just like, it's giving a reference like this guy can go toe to toe with the JLA.
Yeah. It's also kind of silly that him and Hawkman fight in like a bedroom.
Yeah.
But Hawkman has an unusual level of confidence for someone who gets his ass whooped every fight they do.
And that was my concern was it's like, we're getting Hawkman in this, and he's going to get jobbed the entire time.
Yeah, or maybe not completely jobbed, but like it's clear that like who's the stronger of the two.
Yeah.
Black Adam's throwing
They have to bring everybody in, including the newbies. Like you got to bring everyone in.
Which I think is a good segue for us talking about the action is incredible in this movie, but let's move on to the JSA because I think
Which is a very important part of this movie. I think it really balances things out because
a lot of people it's their highlight. For me, I wouldn't quite go that far, but I would say
it's up there. It's my second favorite thing.
My first favorite thing is like the Black Adaming,
Right.
And then like the JSA is really good, but two of the members you could throw right in the garbage. I'm almost tempted to say, why didn't they just cast like some like not second-rate actors, but like cast like, you know, some actors, but make their roles less. Make them just glorified cameos. Like they're just soldiers, like, and they take orders, but the two main characters are just Dr. Fate and Hawkman.
Because I get why it's like we need to.
They probably thought it was a good opportunity to squeeze in some. We'll probably see more of these characters,
and it's more diversity. Also, I will say that this movie is very casually very diverse.
Yeah,
there really is only one white character in it, and it's
Dr. Fate.
And it's Dr. Fate. Yeah, it's a Britishman.
Yeah,
an Irishman, really, but still. But so they were like, well, I mean, the actor that plays Atom Smasher is white, but he is certainly Jewish.
I think he's.
Is he
I thought he was Latino. Noah Centineo.
Oh, his name is Santino.
Yeah.
But what?
Quintessa Swindell and Aldous Hodge. Yeah. There was only one.
Noah Centineo from Miami.
It's Miami.
He's of Italian and half German.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was like, you said Miami. I was like, he's going to be Jewish. I was like, Miami has a lot of Jewish people in it.
Well, I think it's just with I don't know. There was something he was coded that way, and especially with
he does have this kind
Henry
of like,
Winkler kind of as his.
Yeah,
I was just like, he was kind of playing up this like nebbishness and like this kind of like trying to. This kind of like quick-witted sort of thing.
I'm really happy. Someone mentioned this on Twitter. Like, I'm happy that him and Cyclone, their dynamic isn't woman who's over it and man who's an idiot.
Yeah, no, it's not.
That could easily have been
they both
that way.
They both are very charmed by each other, and they both work. That's very refreshing.
Yeah,
it's a good team dynamic.
We just don't get a lot of it.
They're just there to set them up for later.
Yeah.
When they get their
movie. Which makes me go like, well, to what end? We could have done something cool with them here. I would have liked it if one of
their powers were cool.
Yeah.
And they're charming enough. They're two charming actors.
I think Atom Smasher's powers are cooler than hers are.
Well, hers are so vague.
They're just like
she does get picking up the pipes and throwing them down like spears. Yeah. I loved that. I thought that was really cool.
I think it's cool too, but I'm just like, he's just gonna like
just push them away like bamboo. Like, excuse me, please.
The coolest thing, but the thing
because that's a really great fight is them working together to try to subdue him.
Yeah, it's their best moment in the movie.
But it also shows something that I think if you want to bring up more of this imperialist thing, like they're just causing havoc to downtown Kahndaq, and it's like they don't have to answer for it.
He is too, though. He's just flying through buildings. Like he's just like he just anytime he needs to leave a building, he just turns to the left and just goes out the window or whatever.
See, this makes me realize there's not enough of him. I feel like there could have been these moments of big energy from Dwayne Johnson of him being loudly proud of Kahndaq. Like, this is a people worth saving. They will not be bound by anyone. No gods, pharaohs,
no
kings,
gods,
or
no masters. Yeah,
yeah, but he keeps his cool.
I think it's because I think we'll get more of that going
later
forward.
On.
But like, I think here, like you said, there's a mournfulness to him, and I think it's because he realized that his son
was the better ruler.
Would have been the better champion.
He's just the muscle, but he's not the heart.
He can free.
He's got a black heart.
He understands that. He understands that his son wanted more than anything else was for his people to be free. Dwayne Johnson didn't necessarily really care that much about that. He even tells his son in the beginning of the movie, like it's always going to be like this. Don't waste your time.
He's too cynical, and so but then that whole his sadness son, of being like, why me? Why me? I'm not worthy of this. That's there, I guess, but it's not.
I think the idea is that like his son wanted what was best for Kahndaq, and there's a better way to write this in the movie too. His son wanted what's best for Kahndaq. Adam didn't, but he's gonna do the best he can to bring his son's dream to fruition, as he knows how. Like there's a way to do that and make it feel better. I did feel something when he was thinking about when he surrenders himself, and I wish you could have heard the dialogue better because the scene's pretty cool. When Dr. Fate projects himself.
Yeah, Rob's seen it a few times. I've only seen it once, and the audio quality at our theater was very bad.
Well, it was bad because like it's like done in Dolby Atmos probably. So like you're meant to be sitting smack dab in the middle if you want all the important shit to hit you. But you're sitting quite far in the back.
Yeah, it's a loud soundtrack and some mumbly dialogue. I almost was like, I want some caption.
Yeah. But there's a great scene where Dr. Fate goes to Black Adam, who is now in stasis, and is telling him, like, don't you give up on us. Like, you may not think that you're a hero, but you could be exactly what we need.
Right.
And, like, it's a really cool scene.
Is that when he goes up against Sabak?
Well, it's right before that.
Okay.
And as he's breaking free from the thing, there is a continuing up to the top of the water,
right.
And you see his son, and he goes, my son, the world needs you, and he goes, no, or the people of Connaught need a hero, and he goes, no, they need you. They need to be free. That's what's most important. It's not how it happens. It's that it happens, basically. Mm-hmm. And then he goes, say the word, and you see the rock go, Shazam. Shazam. And he gets the new costume. Right. That's when this happens, or whatever.
Because there's also been this
old costume.
Overarching theme with Hawkman and Dr. Fate that's like that helmet.
Oh yeah, we didn't even get to that.
Is like you don't touch it. It possesses power that will melt your brain, but it can see the future. Dr. Fate can see everyone future.
And slip you into madness. And
right.
no one's, and Adam Smash like, we should probably put a towel over it.
Yeah, we should put a towel over it.
Because if someone accidentally grazes it, you slip into insanity. Like,
yeah. But he's predicting that's like...
He sees a vision of what is like a massive,
kind of
hellish catastrophe that ends with Hawkman's death.
Right.
And this is why I say, like, I wish I saw more scenes of them. A flashback scene of them as friends in the past would really sell this all better, where he tells them, like, I've lived longer than anyone has because of this helmet or whatever. And he goes, when I was a kid, I saw the members of the Royal Air Force going off. We had a big parade for them, but I wasn't happy because I knew they were all going off to their deaths,
right,
or whatever. And he goes, I've lived a long time, but I'm still a sentimental fool, and I don't want to see my friend die. And I was like,
yeah,
that's good stuff.
And they sell it. They sell it because the chemistry's really good.
And when Dr. Fate dies,
does
he? We'll see. The helmet that they close up on that helmet one too many times.
And
I'm like,
eye buzzes.
And this is another thing that makes me like kind of root for Dwayne Johnson. Is someone asked him on Twitter, and he was like, it's really a shame that we only got to see Dr. Fate for this time. And he goes, Dr. Fate is literally one of my favorites. And he goes, and I promise you will not, this is not the last you've seen of him. Mm-hmm. So like, I don't know if that means we're going to get more Pierce. Would be a shame if we didn't.
Yeah. You didn't like this, but I thought this was kind of cool. Was we get to see Hawkman utilize some of those abilities?
I don't not like it, but I would have liked it to be set up that maybe every once in a while Dr. Fate would show him a little spell.
Because I think that's something I like.
It's too overpowered for Hawkman.
Right.
What I would have loved is like just a little thing that like just like a little illusion trick that distracts Sabak.
he gets prestidigitation as a cantrip.
Well, like just like some little thing that like maybe Dr. Fate uses once, and he goes, "Have you been practicing that or whatever?" And he goes, "When I get time." And then like have the Dr. Fate use it against Black Adam once, and then have Hawkman use it once against Sabak, and then Black Adam delivers the killing
which
stroke.
He kind of does,
but it's too much though. I just wanted something a little less, because that makes me feel like anybody could pick that up and learn that.
Maybe.
And I like the idea that Dr. Fate is like Dr. Fate and that helmet are like that. It's one of the most powerful magical entities in the DC universe. Mm-hmm. So I don't like the idea that anybody can do it. I like what it was. I would have loved is like he goes to the way it kind of happens is good, and then it just goes crazy. Like he stabs him, and then he's like, "Oh, I've killed him," and then like just have him like turn to sand, and then have Dwayne Johnson kill him, and then you see Hawkman with the helmet and have him like take it off or whatever, or something like that would have been really cool.
Because he didn't even wear it.
Because then it's just
He's holding it.
He just holds it, which makes you go like, well, so you don't even need to have the helmet on to use it, which is not how it is in the comics. In the comics, you put that helmet on, you may not take it off.
Right.
Nabu may not let you take it off, but
the only reason I found that so cool is because I love
it is cool
in some of these comic books when we get these like crossover situations where certain established comic characters now take over the abilities of others.
Yeah, it's like,
that's
it's like
really
Captain
neat.
America picking up
Yes,
we like it.
I like that. It's fun.
I just think for this movie, it's too much.
It's too much.
If you did that like in a Darkseid comes to Earth and the Justice League and Justice Society have a big old team up movie, and Black Adam like puts on the helmet of Dr. Fate or something crazy like that. I'm like, that's dope.
Yeah.
Unstoppable, Dr. Fate, magic, Black Adam. Like I would love that. It's like an Apocalypse War where Trigon possesses Superman's body, and I was like, hell yeah, I'll listen to Demon Superman fighting Darkseid.
That sounds awesome.
So like, I just think for this movie, it's just a little too much. I still thought it was cool, but I was like, I would have liked it if it was a small thing that was an emotional kind of character beat that like, oh, that was the last thing he ever taught me. The last vestige of my friend or whatever. But I did feel something when he goes. Yeah, let's talk about how Sabak is no good.
Is no good. No.
He just wants to be king because his ancestor was king, and that's what...
Also, if everyone got wiped out in that court, how does that motherfucker have ancestors?
It's a good point.
Or descendants,
Well,
rather.
I guess he had sex with somebody. I don't know.
Because the whole thing is like he remembers this great time that the pharaoh or the king was in charge, and it's like we royally know it was not good for anybody.
Literally, everybody looks at that time and goes, "This sucked."
Yeah, they're like, you know, Tet Adam was bad, but at least he ended the royalty. And this guy's like, well, you know what this place needs is a royalty. It just doesn't. Again, like if there had been a intergang like big boss that could be killed by Black Adam, because when the intergang is destroyed, we don't really see it happen. He wipes the floor with a lot of them, but there's no like the intergang is over. It just kind of ends. We have to get ready for the Devil Man.
We just assume that they're gone. Because,
Right.
I mean, he's been wasting fools all movie. How many of them could there be?
Right.
My favorite thing is when Hawkman is steadily making a plan for what they're going to do, and he goes, and that's for you. And he's like, shit. And he's already left the thing.
He's just holding people up in the air and just dropping them.
Everybody.
And he started to just be like, yeah, no, I knew you'd catch him. That's right.
Oh,
Chief.
no. Oh, I was talking about when they attack the base.
Yes.
But yeah, that's good too.
And he goes in there and just starts slaughtering.
We should talk about that because that's a good example of like his humor and something. Like there's and he goes, one of the benefits of keeping like there's a great one with Dr. Fate where he was like, there's Black Adam, and he goes, how are you doing this? And he goes, my body, my spirit can be in places where my body is not. And he goes, he didn't have the child. And he goes, do you have the prisoner? Bring him to me. I shall break his mind. And then he goes, he looks over his shoulder, falling to his death. And he goes, he didn't make it. And I was like,
make it.
And then he comes back and he says, Hawkman says, like, there's a benefit to keeping people alive. They can answer our information. He looks at Adriana and goes, Adriana, wait. And he goes, in this new world that I live in, I understand that it is better to show our enemies mercy. And he goes, I'll start by just asking one question. And he goes over to both of them. He goes, can either of you fly?
Yeah, and then
he takes them into the air. And Hawkman follows him up there. And he's like, you better not drop them. And he goes, or you better not drop the two of them. And he goes, I'm not going to drop both of them. I'm going to drop one of them. Whoever tells me the information I want first lives. These are good examples of what Black Adam would do. Like I wanted more of this, more of the kind of menacingness. It's funny, but it's also not
It's also
funny.
like we know he put Hawkman there because Hawkman would do the right thing.
Yes.
But he's like, I knew you would do the right thing because I'm the bad cop. You're the good cop. I'm the bad cop, and we're gonna get answers. Did we not?
He comes down and he's like,
hey, enhanced interrogation worked.
He comes down and Hawkman's like, I told you to stop killing people. He's like, they look alive to me. And he goes,
he's being a dick.
There's a great line of sarcasm or whatever where he was like, you said you were gonna stop killing people or something like that. And he was like, yes, that was sarcasm. He goes, technically, it was just a lie or whatever.
That was pretty good. Technically, it was just a lie.
Yeah. Back to Sabak. I'm sorry. I just want to talk about like some of the little moments between him and the JSA. Sabak's arc would be so much better. I think this is a good chance to get into rewrite the screenplay as well. Because so much of my problems with this movie are around this kind of weak sauce villain, which sucks because in the comic books, I like Sabak. He's a really cool, striking, very cool to look at villain.
Sabak is like so particularly the devil. Like his name is literally a breakup of like
six demons:
Satan,
Asmodeus,
Beelzebub,
Belial, a bunch of other demons.
It's that meme song going around of people that filming their dogs or cats, and as soon as they make a weird face, it's just like Satanus. Belial. Have you not seen that?
No.
It's pretty funny. It's anytime a dog like makes a weird face, they just have a demon name.
Yeah.
It's cute.
I think
Bethamuf.
I would have loved if at the beginning of this movie, he is friends with Adriana trying to get this crown of Sabak to seal it away because he recognizes that it sucked or whatever. But actually, he's really there to release Black Adam. so that he can bring Black Adam back to liberate Kahndaq. And then when Black Adam kind of doesn't do that, or maybe write the screenplay in a slightly different way where he's like, Black Adam's a little less...
He's being corrupted by outside forces like the JSA.
Yeah, he's working with them, and then have that moment being like, I would have loved just a great scene where like the crown is right next to him, and get rid of the whole he has to die to be summoned to the crown. Super convoluted.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways
that entire
that could not
final
work. What if
part
someone
is
else
very
shoots you? What if someone
convoluted.
else kills you or shoots
Right.
you in the face? Like, so have it come like I would have loved like you have to spill your blood on it to awaken the demons or whatever.
It's a
like that.
ritual.
Yeah.
You know, it's blood ritual.
And have him look over at the crown and then look back at Black Adam, just shake his head and like, you know what? Like you were supposed to be Kahndaq's champion. You were supposed to be the one that saved us. But instead, you work with these agitators. You work with the people that don't do anything but have like turned our
What's
country.
the intergang one day? Tomorrow it'll be, it'll be somebody else, and you'll be sitting there kissing their boots.
Yeah, and just being like, like these people have made our country a smoldering ruin. And he goes, and you're not enough. And he goes, but I know what's enough. And then he picks up the crown, and they try to stop him right before he puts it on, and then boom, Sabak, right there.
Yep.
No waiting. Let's do it. Like,
Horns out.
At least that's more memorable. I don't know if I would have loved it anymore. I also don't like that. I feel like the fight's over kind of quickly. Probably
Yeah.
because we're all feeling the length of the movie by this point.
Yeah.
But I would have liked, like, let's fucking, like, I would have liked if this is the really, the one that puts Black Adam in its place. Make it a little bit harder for him to beat this
Or
dude.
that could be the thing where it's like, get Sabak in earlier, have him mercilessly kill the intergang, like in a way that's
that
like
would be dope.
That's
have
like,
him just like ripping through people.
Yeah,
and
just
like,
have it-
ripping people in half or something.
he
some
comes up
viscera.
to the guy that's like, we'll get that. I just see like some guy that's like some Australian like guy with we'll get him next time, that Black Adam, and all of a sudden you just hear fire just going, people running around on fire, crispy critter skeletons.
I would have loved if he just,
and
like,
he just
picked-
comes and grabs his throat and just like melts him.
Yeah, that would have been so dope. God,
And then-
let us write the next one,
And then
Hollywood.
he sits on that throne and is like, now is the time of the dead.
And maybe like when he sets, maybe when he, I don't know about the dead thing. Just like he's like, I'll rule Kahndaq just as like a brutal, monstrous devil man.
Yeah.
And these demons definitely aren't corrupting me as I'm talking to them. like I feel like
Because it's like there will be some like citizens who are like, "Thank you for liberating us," and he's like, "You benefited from them. Now you die." You
Yeah.
know, and it's first Kahndaq, now the world.
Yeah, something
and
like that would be
And it's
great.
like that's when the JSA and everyone's like, "We both have a problem now.
Yeah.
This
And then-
gets out of hand."
and I would love if
And then just keep the movie as it is. Keep that fight. Rip him in half.
Yeah.
Done deal.
I would have liked if he ripped his head off instead of like down the middle. I know you said that too. Like you thought he
Yeah,
was
I thought he was just gonna
yank
rip his
the
head,
off.
clean off right on that thing. Maybe
What else are we doing?
that's another cut.
One thing I did like about this movie after I think that's and also you can have the big bad guy you can still have your big bad guy of the intergang be like some sort of second tier boss villain.
Yeah.
Someone like
Just some-
I don't
some,
know,
like-
some dude.
Yeah, just some like mercenary Jabba the Hutt kind of character who's like, I'll run things around here for the big man. He's got to be Australian in my mind.
Sabak picks him up and turns him into ashes.
Yeah, just turns him into a crispy critter and is just like maybe he's sitting on the throne like, this feels pretty nice to me, and he's like, that seat's mine, and just like tears him apart.
Yeah. One thing I did like, Black Adam sits on the throne. Someone asks him like, "How does it feel?" And I definitely didn't think they were going to do this. Where he was like, and he goes, "I don't like it," and he picks up and he just destroys it.
I liked that.
No, I did like.
I liked
I did like
that.
that. I thought they were going to make him like, I'm king of Kahndaq.
Yeah, which I also would have. So I liked that, but at the same time, I'm also kind of like, this is a good man now.
Yes. Well,
He has
but
no
we can-
reason.
but in the future,
Right.
I can still see plenty of anti-hero shit happening.
But it's just like now he's like, no kings, not even me. I'm like, Aquaman took the throne. Like
Aquaman
that's
is
not
a nice
complicated.
man. Yeah.
Like Arthur Curry took the throne.
I think regardless of whether he sits on it or not, the transformation has kind of happened.
The transformation has kinda
At the
happened.
end, he says, Kahndaq has always had heroes, and he points to the mom, and he goes, and it still does. Is what it needs is someone. And he goes, I would have liked it if they tied it back to like the difference between him and his son, being like, I can't be a hero, but what I can be is the enforcer around here.
I can be I could be
protector.
the golem.
Yeah.
Like I protect the people of Kahndaq, and that's my deal. You don't come here, you don't screw with my people. They are free.
They get
and
to
they will
make
be
whatever
free as they were
decisions.
5,000 years ago, and that's
Yeah.
it. They get autonomy.
Because those are the parts, like, whenever he talks about that, that's why I really liked the part with Dr. Fate and in Hawkman where they're at the standoff or whatever, and Dr. Fate tries to like protect the woman, and Adam just zaps his shield, and he goes, "Not your country, not your child, not your choice," or whatever. Stuff like that is where I really see Dwayne Johnson's kind of performance shining through on it a lot. And I think going forward, we're going to get a lot more of that as he is now this kind of de facto head of state. He's not, but like everyone else is going to see him as that.
Right.
But
we get because
also small side note, I like his catchphrase. I like how it kept coming back in the movie. You need to say something like, "Tell him the man in black sent you." He's like, "Tell who?" And he goes, "The bad guys." And he goes, "I don't waste words on the dead." He's like, "Yeah, good, but like,
give us something.
Say it before you kill them or whatever."
That was a little cheesy for me
it was
until he says it at the end. I'm like, all right, that's cool.
Yes, and I even like the part where there's the one guy and he drops him. And he goes, tell him the man in black sent you. Like he tries to say it like right before he dies. Like,
and I think that's funny, but it's a little too silly. I think.
Yeah,
this
but
character.
I'll give it
I
one.
was getting Terminator 2 vibes from it. Did I mention that before?
Yeah, it's John Connor in the Terminator.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit of that, except that I like John Connor. I don't like this kid.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, like, you got to be cool now, and he's like, "What is cool?" And I'm like, that's fine. Not this movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Not this movie. Like, if you want to have that in the next movie where it's like, now I'm here, teach me how to be more human, teach me how to be more connected to people. I don't know.
Yeah. We don't want to see Adam connected to people. If anything, I want to see
No, I don't. I want to see him
alienated.
Be anti-hero. I want to see him be dangerous. Yeah. Either way, once the movie's over, we get a drone comes down and,
somehow
and Viola Davis pops up and it's just like,
no one ruined this for you.
I did not know this was happening at all.
Yeah.
We had talked about it being like something that may happen.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, Black Adam, what are we going to do about you?
You don't want to stay in my prison? Fine. Kondak is your prison. Step 1 foot out of it. And what are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
Because he even mentions that, like, how are you going to stop me? And it's like, oh, we have countermeasures.
She's like, oh, yeah, well, we have people. It's like, I'm the most powerful force on this planet. She's like, well, I have friends that aren't from this planet. And he goes, send them all. Yeah. And then he just zaps the thing. And then we see a silhouette come down. And
at first, looks like a computer silhouette. And I thought that's all it was going to be.
And then through the smoke comes
Henry Cavill.
Mr. Big Britches himself.
Yeah.
What was your first just reaction when you saw it?
I was like, he's not going to go any further than that smoke. When he may do a voiceover, and that's it. When he walked through, I was like, oh, damn. Oh, he's back. He's back.
Baby.
This ain't no joke.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's back. I was like, okay, here we go. All right.
Of Krypton or whatever.
I was like, he's kind of getting the curly Q hair.
Cute little bit of tidbit of trivia, I guess. When Henry Cavill shot that cameo, he wore his original Man of Steel suit. And he said because it was important to him, because that's where he started the journey, and it feels like I've kind of come full circle. And
it means so much to him.
Yeah. And
that's so nice.
They brightened up you notice like the red and the yellow.
Yeah, it's a little stronger.
Pops
it
out
pops
a little bit more, but it's the same suit.
Yeah.
But his hair is a lot more Christopher Reeve-y.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, it's got a little curly.
Usually,
Q
like
right there.
Batman v Superman, it's all just like slicked back.
Yeah,
but like I like the.
I like it's a little messier. It's a little fuller.
Like someone just gave him a little.
A little tussle. But that line about him, like, bring them all. I'm like, that's what I needed the whole movie. And by the end, when he smashes the throne, that's not the same character. That's not the same character. That's
disagree.
Well, I get this.
I think that if The Rock brings this character into contact with like members of the Justice League, there's going to be some throwdowns happening.
Yeah, but I wanted more. I wanted more.
Kill like Aquaman or something, or
no.
But if someone pushed him, he would fight them until they were incapacitated.
Right.
Like I could see them both going after something, and then Black Adam being like, "You'll play by these rules, but I won't," and then like. And I think that's enough for me. Like I would be. Okay
I think
with
if you want me to believe that this character is the same character in this post-credit sequence as is the character that we left the movie in, it needs to be like, I don't know who you are, but you will not hurt my people. You will not hurt Kondak.
Yeah.
Instead, he's just like, bring it on. He essentially grabs the mic like it's WWE. He's like, I'll take on Superman here. I'll take on Wonder Woman here. You hear that, The Flash? I'll see you Sunday in Toronto. Yeah. I'm like, do you want to just
get your tickets now, earlier ahead of time?
Like, do you want to just make this place into like a crater? Like,
I think that I trust The Rock. Like, here's the thing: this movie turned out solid enough for me. Like, I'm very satisfied with it, all things considered.
I want more of him playing this character.
Yeah. So like I have enough faith in like all those little things I was concerned about going forward. Can he do the characters? The action's going to be like violent enough? Like, I feel like he nailed it all enough that I'm like, I trust him to know what to do going forward.
Yeah.
He knows people don't want to see a disposable Superman Black Adam fight or whatever.
No.
Or any other character for that matter. Like,
And also, I don't get the arrogance that he's like, I've worked this for 10 years just so I can punch Superman in the face because I'm Dwayne Johnson.
he said that, and he also, in another interview, he confirmed his commitment to like bring him in contact with Shazam, which I think is
That's more noble.
kind of something that I
That's-
really
yeah.
want to see. I want to see them. I want to see that. I want to see that comic where they're going through all the realms of magic. That's what I want to see. Anyway,
I think you make a good point about his Shazam's purity being something that's like, you know, Black Adam can be like, you need to be stronger. You've been given the power of the wizards. Like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? You know, it's kind of like the young and the old meet. You know, this butting heads kind of thing. You know, I think overall, like, it's definitely a fun watch. Check it out. I have my issues with it, but they're not major deal breakers. Like, they're not so big. You know, it's just it's enough that I'm kind of like, I want to see something new.
sure.
It's worth a mental rewrite, but it's still a movie that I'm like, cool. Okay. It was cool.
Yeah. Those are our thoughts on Black Adam.
Black Adam.
Yeah.